I was very surprised that is there this kind of policies are there, whether they have come in past, or what was the system of education in India before independence, or let's say before 2000 years. And also from commissioner office level, I was given some assignment regarding national education policy. So at that time, I did some research in past, and this lecture is fruit of that. So we'll start from the basics, like what was in ancient India, then in medieval age, then in British age. Now after independence, which are the policies that we have, what were the goal of each policy, and then what is there in this new policy, and then what are the expectation, and what is the difference between Indian education system and foreign education system. So whole this thing I tried to go through. So whatever knowledge I'm going to share with you, it's not a knowledge, it's information which I have collected through various sources, because I was also new when this NEP was introduced. It was as new as for you, for me also it was the same way. But then I did some reading for that, and I'm just sharing whatever knowledge I have gained through these readings. So whether my presentation is visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll start. Audio, video, both clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the table of contents will be as I described. We will be understanding the past education system, initial, medieval, and modern. Then we will see education policies, difference between Indian and foreign education, what is there in our NEP 2020, what would be the impact on technical education, and changes. I've also listed all the references, so anyone who would like to read something more on that, you can always have. So before we start, we must understand what is the need of education and what is the goal of education, right? So at present, if you see, the goal of education is employability. Why people are taking education? They want to become employable. They want to get a job, want to earn money. But that was not there forever. Just in last 200 years, Britishers have converted our education, they have molded the education towards job orientation. Otherwise, if you just see ancient India, in ancient India, it was not like this. In fact, in ancient India, very long back, before the Buddhas and before the Vedic system,
Sir, your voice is not audible.
okay, now visible, presentation visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So there was no formal education in olden days. Generally, father used to pass his knowledge to child, and primary related to occupation. So for ages in India, porter's son will become porter, smith's son will become smith, goldsmith's son will become goldsmith. Likewise, the message is like someone is removing me from the call. So Hello.
Hi, yes, sir.
Okay. So this system stayed there. The message appears that someone is removing me from the call. So can you just check out? Because every time I join, someone is removing me.
સર
હા.
હા મેં તમને પ્રેઝન્ટર બનાવી દીધા છે હવે વાંધો નહીં આવશે કદાચ.
Okay.
હા હા ઓકે.
So later on, two systems developed, Vedic system and Buddhist system. So Vedic system revolved around Vedas, Vedangas and Upanishads, and Buddhist system was majority on the Buddhist way of teaching. In Vedic system, the language of study was Sanskrit, and in Buddhist system, it was Pali. So before like the BC, like 2000, when we started the whole counting of calendar, before that, two systems were there, Vedic and Buddhist. So backman of the Indian ancient education system was very different from the rest of the world. In fact, we never called something called a school or college, but we had something called Gurukul. There was no interference of the society and the state with curriculum or the administration. In fact, child has to leave his home to get an education, live with the teacher in Gurukul for the duration of his studies. Right? So ashrama kind of a system was there. Education was free of cost, and student used to do some physical labor every day. Physical labor was utmost important. And if a child was interested in acquiring philosophical knowledge or whatever work he want to do, but ultimately he had to do some manual work every day. And teacher would take care of everything like food, clothing, housing, everything will be taken care by teacher. Debates and discussion were a part of education even on those days. In fact, there was no book system. In Indian education system, books were not there. So everything was to be taught orally only. So in Vedic system, a child started his education at the age of 5, and for that they used to perform some ceremony called Vidyarambha ceremony for the goddess Saraswati. The problem was only the children of Brahmin, Kshatriya and Vaishya, they were allowed in the Gurukul, because in ancient India we had a caste system. So few castes were only allowed to enter into Gurukul. Vedic system generally comprised of 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Samveda, Yajurveda and Atharveda, 6 Vedangas and Upanishad and Tarka Shastra. Even in Vedangas we have something like ritual knowledge, matrices, exegesis, grammar, phonetics, astronomy. So all these things were there only at that time also. You see here, at that time more emphasis are given on all kinds of art. Like there was nothing like maths is more important and grammar is less important. At present study system, what we are doing is science and maths is most important and remaining subjects are given less weightage. That time it was like that, not like that. Every subject was given equal importance. This is one picture depicting the same, how the study was happening. In Buddhist system of study, at the age of 8, they used to enter into education system by performing a ceremony called Prabhajja or Prabhajya, something like that. And this could be done by all the caste boys. Like in Buddhist system, there is no caste system. So everyone is treated equally. So anyone can take schooling, education. There were 3 main Pitkas, that is Vinaya, Abhidhamma and Sutta. And there are 18 Buddhism schools Certain subjects were common to that of Vedic system, that is arithmetic, military science, law, performing arts, ethics, art and architecture. They are all common. And this is one of the picture depicting the Buddhist school. If you see in ancient India, women education was not that important. No doubt, few women are still notable, but again, not as much as the men education. They were generally trained for housekeeping, dancing, and music. They also could do Upanayan ceremony, Upanayan Sanskar, and two classes of women education available. Sadyodvas, they generally perform their education till they get married, and Brahmavadinis, they never get married and continue studying throughout their lives. So Vedas and Vedangas were taught to the level of songs and poems necessary for rituals. And some notable Vedic and Upanishad women scholars were Apala, Indrani, Ghosha, Lopamudra, Gargi, and Maitreyi. So this is one picture of Buddhist teaching woman student. India purpose of education. So again, one thing was it was a good quality education, enrichment of culture, character, personality development, and cultivation of noble ideas. Student to make future ready and survive in any situation. Mental, physical, and intellectual. Theoretical knowledge, practical knowledge was more important. Even many of the things in this era also. But again, here nowhere is written that they are made for job or they are made ready for jobs and all. Only they are make ready to situation. So aim was there for the. At that time, famous Taxila is somewhere in the. The subjects and all we discuss. Similar way, in fact, Takshashila was so famous that students from Kashi, Kosala, Magadha, at that time there was no a concept of one country. There were different states. So Kashi, Kosala, Magadha, from all the states people used to come, and even from the foreign countries they used to come for Takshashila. And famous personalities like Panini, who was expert of grammar, and Chanakya, who was expert of statesmanship. They all were teachers over there, and they also learned from those institutes or those Vidyapits. Similar way, next was the famous place was Nalanda, and it is in Bihar. So there also Vedas, fine arts, medicine, mathematics, astronomy we used to taught. But again, Nalanda and Taxila, they both belong to this system of education. And apart from that, there were other universities like Vallabhi University was famous for law, medicine, economics. Vikramshila was famous for Tantric Buddhism, and few other places are also there, like Banaras, Ujjain. So this is one picture depicting the Nalanda University. We call it as a university, but at that time it was called as a Vidyapit or something like that. Advantages of ancient education was focus was there on all-round development. Emphasis was given to practical knowledge. Women were not given much education over there, and generally kings at that time used to help the development of education. government did not interfere with the formation of curriculum. There was no pressure on the students. In fact, there was no grading system or rank system. Every student was given individual attention. Teacher to student relation was very good. Teacher used to know each student by name and they know the qualities of students, and accordingly they were molding the teaching and curriculum. Disadvantage was women who are not given admission to Gurukul, and some caste, like we have a famous example of Eklavya. So that was the issue of ancient education system. Then came medieval education. So almost up to 8th century, this system kept on running. But then in 8th century, India got invasions from Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, and all in Western countries of India started invading the India. And first one of them was Muhammad Ghaznavi. He set up certain large number of schools and libraries in India, and it was changed drastically. Then the system of education changed drastically. But again, in that era, North India was more affected. South India still continued to be the same system where it was. In North India, Arabs and Turks, they brought some culture, tradition, institutions in India, and they used to teach an Islamic pattern of education, which was very different from Buddhist system and Vedic system. They primarily focused on Islamic and Mughal systems of study. The main aim of this education was to propagate the Islam and spread the knowledge. And specific Islamic education, its principle and social conventions. The purpose of education system was to make people religious minded. What were the subject of study? So Arabian and Persian were the important subjects for the students to get the higher post. The recitation of Quran was made compulsory. Islamic Persian scholar who visited India during that time, he noted that some of the subjects like reading, manual skills, literature, medicine, geometry, trade, commerce were also taught during those times. There were two types of education in medieval times. One is religious education and second was secular education. In religious education, students need to learn Quran, Muhammad and his invention, Islamic laws and Islamic history. While in secular education, it was like Arabic literature, grammar, history, philosophy, mathematics, geography, politics, economics, Greek language and agriculture. They all were there in that thing. Then came what were the medieval education institutes. So for primary education, there was maktabas, and for higher education, there were madrasas. So in maktabas, basic reading, writing and arithmetic along with the religious education was given. There was some literature like of Persian like Laila Majnu, Yusuf, Julekha, all these things were taught. Along with practical education, letter writing, applications, accountancy was also taught in maktabas. Madrasas were for higher education, and Akbar did some work for reviving this education system. So in the time of Akbar, they also introduced Hinduism and philosophy in some madrasas. Some of the subjects were history, geography, economics, political science, astrology, philosophy, mathematics were part of madrasas. And in time of Akbar, Vedanta and Patanjali also came into schooling system. Advantages of that era was practical education was there, student-teacher relation was there, students were taught from the basics, and rulers used to support the development of education. Disadvantage was religious and Islamic education was given more importance, and focus was aimed for the relationship for ruling the country. So ruling the country was main aim during that era. Then what we call as a British education system, but we may call it as a modern education system because what they have introduced, almost similar kind of pattern still running. So when British invaded India, they captured whole medieval education system and medieval age. And in fact, Britishers deployed Lord Macaulay in 1830 to set up an education system over India. So after studying the whole system over here, uh, he found that here the education system is so diverse and so specific that to create a common mass was very difficult for them, because Indian education system was there to create experts of a specific field, but there was no mass production of certain qualities were there. But English people wanted to develop some kind of a workforce who can help them to bring industry revolution. So they wanted clerks, they wanted technicians, they wanted someone who knows science and maths, so that they can help a British agenda of doing industrial revolution. So the whole education system was drastically changed, and it was reoriented to produce a mass having similar caliber. And another aim of that system was to spread the Christianity. So the subject and syllabus were limited to some extent. Like previously, like everything was there in study, but now, as I told you, math, science, all these things were given more importance, including English. English language was the medium of instruction. Education started to develop and entered in modern era, and probably the similar kind of things are still continuing. So industrial sector increased day by day, and demand increased. Education sector also need to change the adapt the environment. So all this thing happened in that era. So what was the objective of that system that we are still continued? To inculcate values in students like equality, secularism, education for all, environmental protection. All students were given minimum level of education to understand the culture and people of the country, provide education to people who cannot afford it, and prepare the students with ever increasing demands. So slowly and gradually, the education converted, or it became a tool for creating employment, creating certain level of common understanding in each student. Curriculum was divided into three segments like primary education, secondary education, and graduation. So schooling system was there in 1 to 10, it is a schooling system. 11 and 12th, in Gujarat we call it as a school, but then in certain parts of country they call it as a junior college. And then graduation was given. So whole curriculum was divided into three sections: primary education, where history, geography, maths, science, Hindi, everything was there. In secondary education, we have some choice, science, commerce kind of a thing, and in graduation you need to go to either university or affiliated college, and then depending on the stream you have taken, you can do the graduation. Educational institutes are again of three parts. We can call it as a school, college, and university. University is generally a bigger place where more subjects, diversified subjects are taught. Schools gives you generic education, and colleges, again, depending on the stream you choose, they provide you the education. We all know about these systems. So what is the advantage of system which introduced by British? So there was a technology in learning. Students are freelancing and they can learn new technology, and they give you employment opportunity. Because of this, we could create some top class universities, institutes, good infrastructure and environment. Disadvantage where few segments believe that government has interfered in education management and the syllabus, because as number of institutes are increasing, there needs some regulator. So government needs some interference. Government interference has increased. A lot of pressure is there on the students because they need to clear so many exams, burden they have to take. Practical knowledge is less, and increase of school fees, college fees is there. A lot of private institutes have come up. In fact, up till now we have never talked about private institutes, but now due to this new this modern education, private institutes have taken role in education, and education has become kind of a business. Previously, it was a service. Let's say if you talk about before 200 years back, education was a service, but now this become as a profit making commodity. The family which is below poverty line cannot afford the education due to increase of fees and all. So that is one issue, and lack of connectivity between the students of rural areas, that was also noticed in modern education. Now, after independence, how India has moved. So in fact, after independence also, the system of teaching was kept same, school, college, university, which was there in British era. Same remained even after independence. They made certain tertiary changes, and in 1950, the first Education Commission was established. They recognized the constitution makers, they recognize the stability and progress of country, which will depend on the educated electorates. So in in our constitution only, they provided the principle of equality of educational opportunity for all. So first commission was established in 1948, that is University Education Commission. It was under the chairmanship of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan in 1948. They tabled up the report and it was introduced in 1948. The major aim was to create effective and functional democracy and reduce socio-economic inequalities. The aim was to create universities which will provide knowledge and wisdom and comprehensive development of the personality. So whatever university culture is there in India, the credit should go to this commission because they actually frame the rules, modalities and all. So you know that the university is independent in India. The Vice Chancellor is independent in India, and Vice Chancellor is directly reporting to Rajyapal. So the whole setup and its modality are done by this commission. Similar way, second commission was Secondary Education Commission in 1952 under the chairmanship of A. Lakshmana Swamy Mudaliar in 1952, and their report submitted in 1953. So they suggested diversification of high school courses and multi-purpose school they introduced or suggested. Another proposal was uniform pattern throughout the India. They wanted uniform pattern should be there throughout the India, because in those eras or that time, every state had a different pattern of teaching. So this commission introduced uniform pattern and also suggested to set up technical schools. So technical schools came because of this commission, and you know that from 8th standard onwards, some schools offer technical subjects which help them to get some marks after 12th standard admission. So this is again an important landmark in Indian education system. But only thing was, up to these two commissions, women education was not given that important. So both these commissions are criticized for not doing anything regarding women's education. Then the next commission came was Indian Education Commission 1964 to 66 under the chairmanship of D.S. Kothari. So we call it as a Kothari Commission also. So whatever the proposals given by Kothari Commission was tabled by the ministry, and ultimately it was introduced as a national education policy in 1968. So first and foremost policy came into India was 1968. Education policy is a different thing and education commission is a different thing, right? First policy came in 68, and the tagline of the policy was destiny of India is in her classroom. So they wanted to give emphasis on classroom teaching, and instrument was social, economic and political change was the instrument employed for this policy. Conclusion was that Indian education system required a drastic reconstruction, almost kind of a revolution, to realize the constitutional goals, to meet the various problems faced by the countries. And three main aspects were internal transformation, qualitative improvement, and expansion of educational facilities. These were the main three aspects. So then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi called this specific policy as a radical restructuring. So we can call that this is the first education policy and first attempt to regulate the education in the country. This policy covered elementary education to higher education all over India for both rural and urban areas. And it sought total reformation and aim in extending the prospects of education for all sections of the society to accomplish the goal of harmony and integration. Key resolutions were they proposed 3-language formula, English, Hindi and Sanskrit. Talent identification was there. First time teacher training were talked about. So teacher training and qualification improvement was introduced, and part-time courses at university level was introduced. So because of this policy, evening classes and evening courses started up, and education should be given without any bias of caste, region, religion, gender, physical and mental disability. So this concept was also proposed in this policy. But again, there was some criticism also. So criticism was regarding 3-language formula, and specifically Hindi language was not acceptable to the southern state. So there was a large criticism regarding this policy. But again, we can say that this was the first systematic effort to give a shape in Indian education system. Second policy came in 1986, and that was introduced by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. And in this policy, removal of disparities of equal एजुकेशन अपॉर्चुनिटी जो पहले प्रॉमिस किया गया था वो नहीं फुलफिल हुआ था. तो इन दैट स्पेसिफिक एजुकेशन पॉलिसी द एम्फेसिस वाज गिवन टू प्रायोरिटाइज और इक्वलाइज द educational opportunities for SC and ST. So scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and other backward classes and women, they all given certain kind of reservations through this policies. So in this policy, scholarships were expanded. Adult education, Praud Shikshan Vibhag or Promote Adult Education was given. SC/ST community teachers were recruited, new institutes were developed, incentives for poor family like Madhyan Bhojan and all, they all started, and establishment of Open University also came in that era. So Indira Gandhi National Open University was established because of this National Education Policy in 1986. So concept of Open University also proposed by this policy. Then common structure was 10+2+3, and national curriculum framework was developed, and institutes like UGC, NCERT, AICT, they all got strengthened because of this 1986 policy. The same policy got revised or amended in 1992 under the chairmanship of Acharya Ramamurthy, and then the report was tabled by N. Janardhan Reddy, Central Advisory Board of Education, and they gave certain changes into that. So we call it as an amendment. It's a new, not a new policy. Again, in 2005, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, under the Common Minimum Program of UPA, they also gave some changes into that, and they adopted this policy. So what was the key resolutions in 1992? So key resolutions was like you should take a common entrance exam for whole India. Then state level engineering examination should be taken. So main aim was to create a common exam. Now we know that there is already a common exam, but again common exams have increased so much that every student have to give at least 3 to 4 common exam, including JEE, GUJSET and all. But before this policy came, this common exam concept was not there, and every institute was taking their own exam, and hence student has to run everywhere to give the exam. Now, before discussing this policy, because this policy came, National Education Policy 2020 came almost after 34 years. So India did not responded to the change of education, change in education till 34 years, and the policy came in 2020. So in 2020, what is or what was the difference between Indian education system and foreign education system? So we are just comparing this Indian education system with US, UK and Germany. There is no point in calling bad or good, but we are just comparing based on certain aspects. So first is on subject base, like option to switch. So here switching is very difficult. Like someone is doing chemistry major, so he cannot go for economics or physics. So once you are entering into one specific graduation stream, your choice of subjects and switching is very difficult. In foreign system, switching is allowed, and there is no limit to them. So student has a choice to choose the courses even if he has taken some specific major stream. Then approach toward education. So in Indian education institutes, research which we are taking into study, this research is of lot of past, and we generally focus on theoretical education, past knowledge and theoretical education. Well, in foreign education system, for fresh research, they generally take practical approach, and they generally depend on discovery kind of a thing. So they try to invent something, discover something, while we generally do some theoretical simulations, some theoretical based research, and only past data, past research is referred. In Indian education system, research initiatives are little less, only government is offering the help, but efforts are limited, funds are limited. So research initiatives are also less. In foreign education system, big companies like Google, Microsoft, they fund the research. So hence better research initiatives are offered there. In Indian education system, curriculum is generally lagging behind the industry. Modification is based on the latest approved research studies, and quite late in Indian university system. In US and other countries, it is very fast, and curriculum changes every year. Every year it keep on changing. So I was just listening one example from YouTube. So in one of the engineering college, there was a rule that if any student is caught holding a mobile, he has to deposit his mobile with institute office, and he will get mobile back after his graduation studies are over. So let's say someone who was using mobile in 2008 and he deposits his mobile in first year, and when he comes out, his Android version of mobile would have been out of market after just 4 years. So you just think that technology is so changing, so fast changing, that within 4 years, when the student was in first year and when he left the institute, his mobile was no longer usable because the Android's version was discontinued. So similar way, the technology is changing so fast, but the syllabuses are not changing. If you just think in GTU, in last probably 14 years, 13 to 14 years, we are probably on the second or third iteration of the syllabus, right? So that way we are lagging in that approach. Exposure. India has not been able to internationalize the education system over here. So no, not many students opt for Indian universities from other countries. While foreign universities have a mixed group, they generally are capable of attracting students from all across the world. Here, course options are very limited. In international market, course options are there, multiple courses are there, specializations are there. Job opportunities are again very specific. Specific Indian universities who are very highly rated, they only get jobs. In international universities, they provide you external job opportunity. Funds over here. So one good point is education in India is still affordable. Like you don't have to pay very high fees. While in foreign education system, cost of living, food, travel, etc. is added to your education expenses, and again, it is always expensive. Return on investment. So here, return on investment will be conditional. Some university can get the return on investment. In case of foreign education, mostly university get return on investment because they generally get research grants, they got good employability, good student, fees is good. So return of investment is always there for foreign education system. Scholarships are very limited in Indian universities, while in foreign university scholarships are ample. Even student can do work and study together. So that way opportunities are there. So every education system has its pros and cons. As a developing nation, India education system has a very strong pillars for theoretical knowledge. And we generally prepare students for toughest competitive exams in the world. You must be knowing that JEE, NEET, UPSC, they are all toughest exam in the world. So that way, our education system has a very strong theoretical knowledge. Whereas in developed countries, education system is more flexible. Uh, Students can pursue various career opportunities, and they can divert themselves from mainstream option. While here, mostly students has to remain in mainstream option. So now let us discuss about Education Policy 2020. Here, this policy is going to replace the 1986 policy. So under the chairmanship of Cabinet Secretary T.S.R. Subramaniam, this policy framing was started. So in fact, policy framing was also done by probably one of the IAS officer, T.S.R. Subramaniam. The report was drafted and put on the table in June 2017 and submitted in 2019 by a panel leader, former ISRO chief Krishnaswamy Kasturirangan. This draft was kept in public for almost 1 year for reviewing, public consultation, public advice, public criticism, and then it was put by cabinet and published. So in new NEP, the aim is to encourage cognition and creativity, restructuring whole system, and main aim is access, equality, quality, affordability, and accountability. So as I told you, this came almost 34 years after the policy in 1986. So the students here with less leverage as compared to the globally. Not just the education sector today, but economic and social progress will also depend on this national education policy. So what is the highlight? So main highlight is 10 plus 2 structure, 10 plus 2 plus 3 is replaced by 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. So now there will be a foundation stage from student who is from 3 years to 8 years, there is a foundation stage. From 8 to 11 years, it will be preparatory stage. From 11 to 14, it will be middle stage, and 14 to 18, it will be secondary stage. That is how the system will work. Promotion of multi-language and native languages. So here native language has been given more emphasis. Up to class 5, home language should be taught wherever possible, and Indian arts of all kinds will be offered to all level of the student. Exams will be taken in standard 3, 5 and 8 to track the education of system, progress of education of the student. And these exams of class 3, 5 and 8 will be overseen by appropriate authority. Board exams of class 10 and 12, they will be redesigned, they will be made more easier, and they will be there only to test the primary competencies and not the mugging level. And option of taking improvements of board exam will also be given. मीन्स हमारे वक्त क्या होता था कि 10वीं और 12वीं की एग्जाम एक बार दे दी, आपके 50% आ गए तो you cannot improvise the score. But in new policy, it is suggested that if some student feels that his grades are not good, he can take a re-exam, he can take improvement exam and face it again. So improvement of board exams grades is also there in 10th and 12th. And I heard that these exams will be taken more number of times. So student who is okay giving exam in December, or someone who is comfortable in giving exam in March or April, so more number of exams will be taken, grade improvements will also be allowed. And in fact, this year my son is in 12th standard, so recent announcement said that in one subject of CBSE 12th standard, student can opt for improvement of grades. So that effect is already coming nowadays. Now regarding early childhood education, formative years. So what things are to be taken care when we deliver early childhood education? So under the NEP 2020, and again there was one article in Times of India, there also these things were quoted. Okay, initial years, students should know about colors, shape, alphabets, etiquettes, behavior, how to help older people, what is the self-identity of a person, what is the relationship with the nature, what are the ethics, how arts, craft and musics are helpful, logical thinking kind of thing should be developed, and problem based, or let's say play based, discovery based learning should happen, curiosity should develop, teamwork should be there. So all these things would be inculcated in early childhood education under this policy. Similar way, if you go for higher education, so in higher education level, undergraduate degree of 3 to 4 year duration with multiple exit options would be available at all appropriate level with some certification. The boundary between commerce, science and arts will be diluted. So there will be no hard separation between arts, commerce and science. And in fact, more humanities, more arts courses will be introduced. So if you see this picture, it will tell that government wants to give multiple pathway for entry and exit. आपको एंटर होना हो तब भी बहुत सारे रास्तों से आप एंटर हो सकते हो, आपको बाहर निकलना हो तब भी बहुत सारे रास्तों से बाहर जा सकते हो. जो भी लोग ड्रॉप आउट हो गए हैं उनको सिस्टम में वापस लाना है. वेरियस सेंटर्स ऑफ स्टडीज बनाने हैं, देन peer tutoring, learning outcome based teaching, and various schools of thoughts are to be built up. So higher education level पे their emphasis is multiple entry, multiple exit will be given. B.Ed program will be made 4 year, and a merit-based scholarship will be given. Flexibility for students to choose the subject whatever they wish to. Teacher eligibility test TET that will be strengthened with better study material, and contributory personality development for teachers will be there, and 50 hours of participation in a year would be compulsory for teachers. National, international, local, regional workshops will be held for teachers for improvising their quality. And by 2030, all university shall become multidisciplinary, right? So same university should offer multidisciplinary courses. We already are having that kind of things in the present education system. They want to reduce the curriculum. So core subjects are reduced. You must be seeing that in new curriculum developed by AICT as well as GTU, we are seeing that our core courses have been reduced. They want to develop courses which give critical thinking, inquiry, discovery, discussion, analysis, all these things should be there. Classroom should be interactive. Experimental learning should be emphasized. So NP 2020 wants reduction in curriculum, and we see that in our BE also, our curriculum has been drastically reduced. Now, what would be the policy framework? So here we will allow foreign universities to set up university in India. So top 100 universities can open their campus in India. High performing universities like IITs and IIM, they can establish their campuses outside the country. And a single regulator was established, which is known as Higher Education Commission of India, HECI. That will be the single regulator of whole education. And under that, there will be regulating authority, accreditation authority, funding authority, and academic authority will be set up under the leadership of Higher Education Commission of India. In NEP 2020, 4-year bachelor degree is proposed, in which after 1 year you will get a certificate, after 2 years you get a diploma, after 3 years you get a bachelor, after 4 years you will get a honors, and after 5 years you will get a master's degree for commerce, science and arts kind of courses. In degree colleges, degree engineering colleges, or let's say in a technical education, 1 year is more. So after 2 years you will get a certificate, after 3 years you will get a diploma, after 4 years you will get a bachelor, after 5 years you will get a honors, and after 6 years you get a master degree. MPhil degree is discontinued just to align our system with respect to Western model. So now MPhil degree will no longer be awarded. And as I told you, the topmost body will be HECI, that is Higher Education Commission of India. And under Higher Education Commission of India, there will be 4 major bodies. First body is Regulatory Council, that is called National Higher Education Regulatory Council. So the function of this council was to regulate higher education, including teacher education, only excluding medical and legal education. Second is a Accreditation Council. So name of that council is National Accreditation Council. It will be a meta accrediting body. So NAC and NBA will go under NAC, National Accreditation Council. Third is Higher Education Grants Council. So for grants, there is another council called Higher Education Grant Council. So funding and financing of university will come under them. Funding of university and colleges. So this will replace National Council of Teacher Education, All India Council of Technical Education, and University Grants Commission. So AICTE, UGC, National Council of Teacher Education, everything will go under Higher Education Grants Council, HEGC. The fourth body they are going to create is General Education Council, that is GEC, that will frame the graduate attributes, learning outcomes, and all the professional course council will go under General Education Council. So National Higher Education Qualification Framework, NHEQ, then National Council of Teacher Education, then Professional Standard Setting Body, then National Council for Vocational Education, National Council of Veterinary Council, Council of Architecture, Council of Agriculture. All these councils will go under General Education Council. Then National Testing Agency will take the exams for JEE and NEET. Right now JEE and NEET is taken by NTA, but other exams will also taken by National Testing Agency. This policy proposes that higher education institutes like IIT make changes with regard to diversity of learning. Internationalization of education in India will be done. Foreign university will be able to set up the campuses, and here some good university will be able to set up campuses outside the India. Fees for public and private universities will be fixed. Most of these things we already are doing. So what are the major changes? First is freedom of choice. Previously the religious system was there. Now there will be freedom of choice. Arts, science and commerce is changed to flexible system. Vocational education and practical education will be given importance. Internships will start from 6th grade. छठा दोनों पछी 6th स्टैंडर्ड के बाद अगर कोई बच्चा चाहता है कि वैकेशन में वो इंटर्नशिप करना चाहता है तो इट विल बी अलाउड. Importance will be given for skill development and practical assignments. सबसे अच्छी बात आ रही है परख करके परफॉर्मेंस असेसमेंट रिव्यू एंड एनालिसिस ऑफ नॉलेज फॉर होलिस्टिक डेवलपमेंट. तो बच्चों का जो असेसमेंट है वो सिंगल टीचर के द्वारा नहीं होगा, बट रिपोर्ट्स कार्ड विल इंक्लूड सेल्फ असेसमेंट. यानी अगर बच्चा सोचता है कि मैंने इस स्टैंडर्ड में कैसा परफॉर्म किया तो वो खुद का भी असेसमेंट रख सकता है. उसकी क्लास वालों ने उस बच्चे के लिए क्या असेसमेंट किया तो वो भी उसमें गिना जाएगा, और टीचर ने क्या इवोल्यूशन किया तो वो भी गिना जाएगा. तो असेसमेंट विल नॉट ओनली बेस्ड ऑन टीचर्स इवोल्यूशन, बट इट विल ऑल्सो बेस्ड ऑन स्टूडेंट्स सेल्फ असेसमेंट एंड peer review by another students and by teacher themselves. The whole holistic assessment system will be developed, which is named as a PARAK, Performance Assessment Review and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. So new National Assessment Center will be set up. तो assessment एक बहुत ही important task हो जाएगा NEP में. फिर नेक्स्ट कॉन्सेप्ट इज बैंक ऑफ क्रेडिट, एकेडमिक बैंक ऑफ क्रेडिट. यानी एक ऐसा बैंक बनेगा जिसमें आपके क्रेडिट्स को जमा किए जाएंगे, और उसमें सारी क्रेडिट्स जो जमा होने के बाद वो आप उसको ट्रांसफ़र कर सकते हो किसी और डिग्री के लिए. लेट्स से आपने स्पेसिफिक कॉलेज से 5 क्रेडिट्स ली है, उसने आपको एक बैंक में जमा करवा दिया. फिर कहीं और जा रहे हो और वहाँ पे कोई और कोर्स कर रहे हो, वहाँ पे भी क्रेडिट लिया है, तो वो पहले बैंक की क्रेडिट दूसरे कोर्स में आपकी गिनी जाएगी. तो फाइनल डिग्री के अवार्ड करते वक्त आपके बैंक के अकाउंट में जितनी क्रेडिट्स हैं उन सबको मिला के आप फाइनल डिग्री ऑप्ट कर सकते हो. तो दिस इज अ न्यू वेलकम स्टेप दैट बैंक ऑफ क्रेडिट विल बी एस्टैब्लिश्ड. प्रेफरेंस विल बी गिवन टू मदर टंग फॉर बेटर अंडरस्टैंडिंग. सिंगल एंट्रेंस एग्जाम फॉर होल कंट्री. Educational technology forum will be developed. Multidisciplinary college will be set up. यानी जहाँ पे इंजीनियरिंग चल रहा है वहाँ पे कॉमर्स आर्ट्स भी बनाया जाएगा, और जहाँ पे आर्ट्स कॉमर्स चल रहा है वहाँ पे इंजीनियरिंग भी कर जाएगा। तो मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी कॉलेज इन ईच डिस्ट्रिक्ट बनाए जाएंगे। Music, arts, literature will be taught in all the colleges. MPhil will be discontinued and Sanskrit will be streamlined. Foreign colleges will be set up over here. और सबसे बड़ी बात कि एजुकेशन में जो इंक्रीज होगा जीडीपी का वो 6% होने जा रहा है, विच इज अप टिल नाउ 3.82%. सो व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन न्यू पॉलिसी एंड प्रीवियस पॉलिसीज? सो प्रीवियसली हम लोग जीडीपी का 3.84% खर्चा करते थे, अब 6%, यानी आप समझ सकते हो ऑलमोस्ट 1.5 टाइम्स बढ़ा दिया। इट्स अ वेरी बिग अमाउंट। तो जीडीपी का 6% खर्चा होगा एजुकेशन पे। ग्रॉस एनरोलमेंट रेशियो आप सब जानते ही हो कि कॉलेज लेवल पे एनरोलमेंट बहुत कम है, तो वो अभी 26.3% है, जो कि न्यू पॉलिसी में 50% तक ले जाने की उम्मीद है 2035 तक। स्कूलिंग स्ट्रक्चर 10+2+3 के बजाय 5+3+3+4 का आ गया है। बैचलर प्रोग्राम जो है वो 3 साल का होता है और मास्टर डिग्री 2 साल की है। तो NEP 2020 में बैचलर डिग्री और मास्टर डिग्री को मिला के 5 साल का एक कंपोजिट प्रोग्राम भी हो सकता है, इंटीग्रेशन वाला, और एवरी लेवल पे यू कैन गेट अ सर्टिफिकेट। एंट्रेंस एग्ज़ाम जो है तो यहाँ पे हर एक स्टेट को अलग एग्ज़ाम लेनी पड़ती है। न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी में पूरे इंडिया के लिए एक ही एग्ज़ाम प्रपोज किया गया है। जैसे कि यूनाइटेड स्टेट में सेट होती है, तो यहाँ पे NTA है जो आपको एग्ज़ाम पूरे कंट्री के लिए करवा के देगी। मीडियम ऑफ इंस्ट्रक्शंस जो है वो अभी डिपेंड करता है टाइप ऑफ स्कूल, टाइप ऑफ स्टेट, बट न्यू पॉलिसी medium of instruction is home language till class 5. Even class 8 up to that you can use home language, and then English is also there in later years. Vocational courses जो है वो अभी अभी के सिस्टम में कॉलेज में जाके ही आप वोकेशनल कोर्सेज कर सकते हो। न्यू एजुकेशन सिस्टम में आफ्टर क्लास 6 you can go for internships, you can go for vocational courses. So that is again a drastic step. Still from class 6 you can do all these things. Higher education में arts and humanities had less importance. In new education policy, even engineering institutes will move towards more holistic and multidisciplinary education with arts and humanities. Coding was taught after class 10 in previous system. Here coding will be taught from class 6. बोर्ड एग्जाम्स फिक्स सब्जेक्ट की होती है यहाँ पे NPE में। इट विल बी एबल टू चूज मैनी सब्जेक्ट्स, एंड ऑल्सो एग्जाम्स विल बी नॉट टेस्टिंग cramming capacity, but it will test our basic skills, and also number of exams tries will be allowed more. In education system, theoretical knowledge is more dominant in India. In previous policies, theoretical education was there. In new policy, practical education and overall mental improvement has been given importance. So these are the references which I have used for preparing this lecture. So thank you very much for patience listening. So now I can hand over this session to Darshan ji. Yes, Darshan.
Now participants are requested to ask any kind of question or queries. You can unmute yourself and raise your question or any query related to the talk which is given by Ketan sir. You can also write in the chat box.
Dr. Darshan, can I ask one question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine. Nice to listen, Dr. Badgujar, sir. It's a very lengthy and good presentation which you started from historical era to the education policy 2021. I have a small question that when we say that 3 years degree in engineering would be allotted, you I think demonstrated in one slide.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So after 12th, student will be getting degree in 3 years only. Is it like?
Sir, 3 years for commerce and arts, but for engineering it will be 4 years only. But after 3 years in engineering, it will be diploma degree. Whatever was written in the slides that were for
That
arts,
was
science,
for
and
arts
commerce.
and
Arts,
science.
science, and
Okay,
commerce.
I thought it
For
is for
engineering,
three.
it will be 4 years only. But if some student want to leave, they can leave after 3 years, getting a diploma of the same.
So for that, the syllabus and structure would be, I think, decided later on, or it would be same.
It will be decided by specific university. So in Gujarat, what we are doing is in Gujarat, our education minister, respected Bhupendra Singh Chudasama sir, has constituted a committee under the leadership of 4 university chancellors.
Okay.
So these 4 vice chancellors of different universities were given responsibility of their domain. Let's say GTU vice chancellor has been given responsibility of framing the technical education as per the education policy.
Right.
And all those 4 vice chancellors has already tabled their report to education minister. So now education department is in process of gathering all these things together and propose something how we are going to employ in our state. And in fact, last week only there was some statement by education minister that what are their plans for implementing this policy.
Right, right. So I think it will take still one more year to come into existence.
Uh, it will come gradually because not everything will drastically change.
Right, right.
But let's say, as it is told, okay, in 12th standard, student will be given a more choice, more attempts.
Yeah.
So you can see that JEE is now 2 attempts. Now it has become 4 attempts.
4 attempts.
And it has been now thought of okay, like whenever student want to give JEE, it will be allowed to give. That is also been heard. Similar way in 12th standard board exam, now the procedure is, let's say if some student want to improvise the grade for one subject, that came into existence this year. This was not there previous year. So if some student is passing, so he is not allowed to give another exam. But now that amendment came, okay, let's say someone gets 50 marks out of 100 and he want to improvise the grade, that is allowed. So slowly and gradually they are putting the things in practice, because if they change drastically, people won't accept.
Right. Okay, thanks. Thanks, Dr. Badgujar.
Thanks for patience listening, sir.
Any other questions from the participants? You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Okay, so if no question, then we can conclude the session. So I would like to invite Training and Placement Officer of our institute, Dr. Haresh D. Golokia sir, to express the vote of thanks. Haresh sir.
Am I audible?
Yes sir, yes sir.
First of all, I would like to thank Ketan Badgujar sir for accepting our invitation and spare his valuable time from his busy schedule. Sir has discussed about education system of past, present, and future education system, that is NEP, National Education Policy, in our country. So, and sir has also given all salient features of all these policies. The lecture was very informative and very interesting. The lecture gave us deep insights into the education system of past, present, and future, and relieved many interesting facts about the national education policy. So, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for this lecture. I am also thankful to Professor Darshan for organizing this webinar. I am thankful to our principal, sir, for always motivating us to organizing such events. Once again, I would like to thank Dr. Ketan Badgujar, sir, for sparing his valuable time and deliver this webinar. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Haresh sir. So now we are concluding this session and we are ending this webinar. Thank you once again, Ketan sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all the dear participants for your active participation. Thank you.
Sir.